guys, welcome back to, well, this is going to be a different kind of video. We've done at PormaMod sponsored content before, and we've done content where we reviewed things. Today we talked about Retro-Spec carbon fiber products. I have a lot of mixed feelings about this subject. This was a sponsored deal up front. It was a percentage off of the total cost. I had a rather large out-of-pocket expense for what you're going to see today. We're going to look at some of the stuff. I'm filming without Mike right now, so I can't easily manipulate the camera, but I'll make sure that Mike and I get some shots of some stuff. Initially, this would be a really negative video. I've thought about it a lot and talked to other people that bought Retro-Spec products, and I want to give an honest, straight down the line opinion of what I've experienced. First and foremost, packaging of the products as they arrived was very good. So Retro-Spec sent me multiple boxes full of carbon fiber pieces, and they were well packaged and well sent. And they traveled from, I think, Mexico all the way to, Pennsylvania, the United States, where we are today. So when it comes to that, Mike and I were actually doing another video doing the unboxing. As we started to unbox things, we started to notice things that made us actually stop that video because things weren't adding up. I was looking at things that didn't work. It didn't look right. And I don't have all the pieces in front of me, but we are going to cover what I have just within arm's length. Starting on the front of the car, we have a fully carbon fiber AE86 Zenki front lip. It's a beautiful piece, but it didn't mount right. And I think you could probably make this work if you wanted to modify your Zenki front bumper or your non-Zenki front bumper. The mounts, as they're designed, don't really work with the actual Zenki AE86 front bumper. Mine front bumper is from Toyota. The brackets that have it mounted to the car are Toyota. The actual fender liners are in place, and everything under the car is exactly as you would have seen from Toyota. So you would expect that something like this would fit on the car as easily as possible for the price that you pay, and it didn't. It doesn't contour on the side the way the actual lip does from Toyota, so there's a gap. And you could probably fix that by massaging the bumper or by heating or modifying this piece, but it doesn't fit out of the box correctly. So if you were interested in one of these, be ready to do some work to get this to fit. So that's the honest review of that piece. Next up is going to be, and you can kind of maybe see it, not really. I'll have Mike get some shots of this, the windshield cowl. So my plan originally was to do the front lip, headlight covers and eyelids, and then the windshield cowl. In my car, the windshield cowl was destroyed. It was sun-cracked, bad, all around not good. So I replaced my windshield cowl with the Retro-Spec windshield cowl, and it fit perfectly. The screw holes were mounted exactly where they should be. It followed the factory contour, and I have to say this piece is a solid buy. I'd recommend it 100% if you need a windshield cowl. Don't hesitate to make that purchase. So that's a good one to have. Up front, we also have a radiator cooling shroud. I'll get more shots of this with Mike at the end of the video, and he can cut it in here if he wants. The problem with the radiator cowl is one that's actually not specific to Retro-Spec's piece. I see this with the Techno Toy Tuning one and a couple others. It only has one mounting point, so there's a bolt that goes through it into the chassis, but it's very flimsy. Now, I'm told that the hood, which is not on this car, will help sandwich that in place and it won't be a problem. But just the way it comes, you would think it would have a little more rigidity to it to help airflow flow under the piece and through what will be the radiator, but not so much. Next, I want to take a minute and talk about these guys. And these are beautiful. These are headlight covers and eyelids. And on initial inspection, and as you look at the piece, it looks really nice. Like the carbon, I'm going to try to show this to you guys, is really well woven. It has a very nice gel coat on it. Like it's got great reflection. The problem is they don't fit. You have to, and you can kind of see that here, sand down the inside edges and get them to fit. And you would think that these things would be, following a pretty good mold, but they don't. The other problem that you're going to have is the eyelids, which Retro-Spec makes, and this is the frustrating part about this, is that a lot of this was probably, if Retro-Spec or the guys that put this together had done any kind of QA of their own pieces, you would have caught this stuff during production. But like these pieces here, the screw holes that actually fit through this, they don't really work. You'd have to do some creative redesigning. And the holes on the side that affix these to the actual body are not exactly as they should be. They're too big for the plastic clips, and you need to either zip tie them or fab your own piece of material to work with this. Focus, focus, focus. Not gonna focus, it's all right. So they're beautiful to look at, but it really is a pain in the ass to get these to work. You could do it, but you'd need to either drill new holes in the headlight assemblies, use zip ties to hold things together. All options that for my chassis and my build I don't really want to take advantage of, even for the benefit of the look of the carbon. The other nitpick I'll give here is the eyelid that goes on this. It's got a pretty big gap going down it. I mean, that's pretty sizable. The factory piece has got a piece of weather stripping that goes there. Yes, you could put your own weather stripping on this, it would resolve that. But again, for the price points you pay for these things, probably shouldn't have to do that. So overall those, you know, out of 10, give them like a 6. The front lip I give like a 2 out of 10. The windshield cowl I give like a 9 out of 10. The radiator cowl I give like a 6 out of 10. Let's move on. So this is a HVAC climate control carbon fiber bezel. Now, really cool is the cigarette lighter piece actually works. I installed mine on here, so you can actually install your cigarette lighter, or you can put other electronics here. Now, interesting to note is, and kind of hard to see, the inside here is not very well finished. Same thing with some of these edge pieces, like there's hazing in the clear and the gel coat, but that's really nitpicky. Now, the thing that sucked about this is that they did not drill out these guide pin holes, which you can kind of see right there. I drilled that hole myself. So when you go to install this, there's guide pins on the body and didn't want to sit flush. So talking with Retro-Spec, they say, well, just drill your own holes. And again, I don't really agree that for $170, I think, for this piece, that you should have to modify it after you receive it. But I did, I drilled them, and then I installed it, and what I found was that there was actually, where the climate control sits, there was a pretty sizable gap. And it was flush mounted in there, but this simply isn't deep enough to make contact with the HVAC panel, which is kinda acceptable to some, but it's noticeable to me, and when you see something like that, you're not gonna forget it, which discounted my use of it. So a lot of this stuff, I'm actually letting go. I'm selling on the forums and some other people. I'm just partying it out. I'm taking a big loss for it. That's what happens sometimes in this world. And you know, I'm bringing this information to you, wonderful YouTube viewers, so hopefully you find it useful. With all that said, I'd probably give this piece like a 5 out of 10 because it fits if you work it to, but it's not a perfect fit and finish. Moving on from that, this is a radio bezel. So your radio sits in here, or gauges, and it goes where the factory radio bezel goes. The screw mount points are perfect. There's no problems with any interference there. The problem with this is the bottom piece, right here, the way this is molded, is incredibly too narrow. It doesn't actually fit with the shifter trim. So the shifter trim in your car, in an AE86, this actually sits recessed in here, and it doesn't fit. Like, it doesn't fit even close. Like the factory one, this piece goes all the way under there. So you assemble this into your vehicle and you install the radio trim, and it just doesn't work. And again, this is the kind of thing that kills me, is that Retro-Spec's team could have fixed this if they had ever taken a piece and gone, hey, does this work? Oh no, it doesn't. We shouldn't send this to a customer that's paying money for it. But instead, here I am, I'm holding pieces that I paid money for that don't work. This just doesn't work. It's not gonna work in your car, it's not gonna work in my car. So this, I give like a 1 or 2 out of 10 because while it looks great, it doesn't allow you to use your factory trim, shifter trim, or the Retro-Spec carbon fiber trim. So 2 out of 10, not that good. Which brings us to the shifter trim, because we're going right down. HVAC, radio, shifter trim. Shifter trim is beautiful, looks great, installs great, fits perfect. If you use your factory radio piece, this piece is actually made correctly. It's the radio piece that isn't made correctly. This I give a solid like 8, 9 out of 10. Actually, this could be a full 10 out of 10 piece. It's pretty, it fits perfect. There's no complaints with this. You can put it in your car, buy it today, it would fit right where the Toyota one goes. Which brings us to, I don't know where the other one is. Let's go over that one. This, those two, is a hatch privacy. No, this is the, well, if you lift the hatch from an 8.6, there's the cardboard underpiece that covers up the windshield wiper motor if so equipped and some other stuff, and it's usually just a piece of cardboard. Retro-Spec sent me the carbon piece and it looks great. Like, all the pieces look really good. The downside is the holes are not drilled to size, and if you try to drill this and you don't have a really good drill bit, you can shatter the carbon. And the other thing is they're not drilled properly. If you try to look-see, which is really hard to see, from this point to here, this point to here, these are completely off-center and wrong. They're not drilled at all right. So you'd have to completely re-drill this, and you'd have drill points that don't match up what they should be. So that's kind of sucks. But overall, this is still a beautiful piece that can be used. I give it a 6 out of 10. But you'd have to re-drill it. Let's just drop that there. This is Retro-Spec's mirror covers. These go on the inside door. They're just carbon fiber mirror covers. They're just a cosmetic dress-up piece. And they're really nice. And they're one of the first pieces that I noticed something was wrong with. So Retro-Spec installed these with a threaded nut and bolt inside the mirror cover. And the problem is that when you install this into the door, you have to take the mirror off. And the mirror is held in by 3 screws right about here. So you install this, and then you get this bolt on from the outside of the car, because you're working on the bolt here, right? And then you get the bolt on, and now this is held to the chassis. This is installed, but then you can't reinstall the mirror because there's screws that need to be assembled behind this. So it's a chicken and the egg type problem. Really lame. So in the factory piece, this is just a plastic push pin. Again, you could probably pull this off and just put some wadded, I don't know, like, it's not silly putty, but like body putty, and push it in place after you install the mirror. It will probably hold in just fine. You could probably even use RTV on it, it would hold just fine. But for my chassis, I'm not going to run it because it's not right. It's not made correctly. These pieces are wrong. They don't work out of the box. You have to do something to them to make them work that kind of shouldn't have to be done. What else do we have? What else do we got in our box of goodies? Unpictured or side skirts. I did get side skirts from Retro-Spec. They're TRD, you can kind of see them up there. They're TRD modeled side skirts. So they're made from a TRD mold that's supposed to look like the Toyota side skirts that you could buy in Japan. They didn't come with end caps, brand new. Reached out to Retro-Spec and they offered to give me side, end caps, but we couldn't come to agreement on a lot of things, which we'll talk about at the end of the video. So I have those, but they don't actually seem to really fit the car. They need to be trimmed and cut and other stuff too, which, again, you buy custom carbon stuff, I'm gathering that you're going to have to do a lot of customization to it to get it to fit your vehicle, even if your vehicle is as clean and the body is as straight as this one. So your mileage may vary, but be ready if you buy aftermarket third-party FRP or carbon fiber stuff that you're going to have to be skilled in modifying the carbon, which I have some body mod skills, but not enough to be cutting up carbon, and not worth it to me to get that down the train in it. Let me find one more piece. I'm back. This is a center console. Beautiful piece, looks great. It deletes the cup holder, which is kind of, it is what it is, and it deletes the cigarette ashtray, which it is what it is. Installs perfect, works great. This piece, I'd recommend that you make your own shifter boot, because that's kind of a big old hole there. But you could easily cut some fabric or leather and attach it here with Gorilla Glue or an adhesive. This piece bolts to the shifter piece just great, fits perfectly. So it just kind of goes together like this. And it works, even though it doesn't look like it's working there. And it works perfectly. And like, these pieces are solid pieces for your car. If you want to buy pieces, unbox them, unscrew your pieces and install these, and not have to do anything else, these work great. But some of the other pieces we covered here today, not so much. Your mileage may vary. Customer service from Retro-Spec is a wash. Very slow to respond. Very slow to respond to Facebook. Very slow to respond to emails. Most of the advice I got from Retro-Spec was, do you know how to do body work? Which, yeah, I can do some body work, but I'm not an expert in carbon fiber modification. I brought in someone that actually is a body like master that knows stuff really well about chassis. I obviously have a guy that can talk to about that. We looked at the side skirts and the front lip, couldn't find an easy way to do it without really modifying what I already have on the car, which I don't want to do. So I worked with Retro-Spec a lot, worked with Brian from BH Automotive, who's like a US dealer for Retro-Spec. Couldn't really come to consensus on agreement on what they wanted to do. At one point they wanted me to send the whole order back. At another point they just wanted some of the pieces that were not working out for me sent back. That led into, you know, how's shipping going to work for this stuff? Where am I sending it to? Who's paying for that cost? Is that my expense? If so, why is that my expense? These pieces aren't made correctly. You know, the mirror covers are clearly wrong. The radio din is clearly wrong. Those things just don't work. The headlight covers are wrong, and that could have some of those items could have just been called during production of those pieces. So that's all I've got. I'm gonna call Mike back in here. We're gonna cover some of this stuff up close so you can see it. Again, the pieces that worked, if you're interested: shifter trim, center console, windshield cowl, the radiator trim piece. You could make a pass at, works. The pieces that did not work or needed modification were the front lip, the side skirts, the headlight trim and bezel, the climate control. I'd say most of the order really didn't go in a way that I think is conducive to getting a good fit. Your mileage may vary. Be sure that if you reach out and do order carbon, that you know what you're doing. I could maybe make more of this work, but I'm choosing not to. I just don't think it's going to look good or hold up in the long run. So make sure that you spend your money wisely and know what you're buying and know how to do the modification to the parts that you buy. And that's probably it. So put in the comments any of the feedback, or if you've done business with Retro-Spec, what your experience has been. I'm going to give them a C. Overall, for all encounters, I'm going to give it a C-. How about that? Yeah, I did get my order, which I know there's some people that didn't. So drop it in the comments if you had experience with Retro-Spec, or what's your experience with carbon fiber. Yeah, that's it for this time. Lots of good progress made on this still from even the last video. Hopefully doing more videos. Let us know if you want to see more videos of the 86. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz. And we'll see you guys next time in whatever future video we do. See you guys.